Fortress Kamerlengo. The Fortress Kamerlengo rises up from the sea on the southwest corner of the island where historic TROGIR sits. The construction of the fortress began in 1420 and it was completed in 1437. The fortress was built immediately after the Venetian conquest of TROGIR. The name Kamerlengo was originally the name of Venetian officials Kamerlengo and Castellano, in charge of the state finances. There were different opinions from Pietro Lorendan, general captain of the Adriatic Sea, Marco Miani, and the engineer Pinzino, regarding the location of the fortress. There were different opinions from Pietro Loredan, general captain of the Adriatic Sea, Marco Miani, and the engineer Pinzino regarding the location of the fortress, because its position had a strategic importance. It was decided to build the fortress in a suburb next to the existing big tower, which had imposing walls protecting the port. The fortress was part of the existing walls, and besides being a strategic location, it also reduced the building costs. New walls were added on the north and east side, fortifying the area. The ground plan of the fortress is an irregular trapeze with 4 towers on the corners, the biggest one facing the southwest. A protected passage with a wooden fence regularly used by guards stretches along the walls. The big tower, Maestra, was built in the 14th century. It is also known as the Chain Tower, Verriga, and faces the island of Chiovo. It is an irregular 8-sided 3-story tower. The tower lost its roof on the top floor in 1571. The second floor still keeps some of its Gothic elements. There is an eye-catching small niche or hole in the wall that was used to hold the water pots, and a dome-like construction can be seen on the top floor of the tower. Two wooden movable bridges were used to reach the second floor. The tower contains many openings, and the most interesting one is a big hole on the second floor, probably used for an escape. This particular tower is often considered the main one, Il Mascio, and it's the biggest tower used as the last line of defense. The other 3 towers each have one vaulted area open towards the inside of the fortress, with access to the guard passages. The tower was surrounded by the sea on the west and the south, and by a ditch, or fossa, on the north and east. Therefore, the tower was transformed into a small island, and a wooden bridge was used as a passage from the tower to the town in the east-west direction. A small pier was located on the south side for vessels and was used as a logistic support for the fortress. It was isolated from the unsafe part of town where riots against the new government were about to start. Inside, the open space of the fortress called the courtyard was divided into 2 parts. The eastern part was used for the cistern above the well, and the western part was called Castella Square. A small church that leaned against the wall was located in this area. The small chapel was dedicated to Saint Mark, the patron of Venice. The remains of the destroyed church can be seen today. A big set of stairs is leaned against the western wall of the fortress and was used to approach the walls. This area also contained a military barrack for about 10 soldiers and a residential area for the officials, Castellani and Kamerlengo. Today, we can only see the remains of plaster and drip edges. Coats of arms adorn the walls of the fortress. A relief of a winged lion, heavily damaged in 1923, can be seen on the south side of the big tower. Below the relief, there are 3 coats of arms of Pietro Lorendan, Doge Francesco Foscarini, and Maddaleno Contarini. Lower on the ground level, there is a coat of arms with a damaged heraldic field. A symbol of the Valeresso family stands on the eastern side of the same tower, and the symbol of the Barbarigo family is engraved on the outside of the fortress, on the northeast corner of the 6-angled tower. Inside the fortress there are 2 coats of arms, Ludovico Alvisio Lando with initials AL on the left, and Alvisio Tiepolo, who served as a governor of the fortress in 1471. A massive relief of a winged lion with a closed book stood at the front of St. Mark's Church, together with the coat of arms of the family Contarini, today archived in a Dominican monastery. In more recent times, during the Second World War, under the siege of the Italian fascists, concrete bunkers were built inside the fortress. It was the place where the opponents of the fascist regime were shot. A memorial of the victims is still there. It is a symbol of liberty and independence of our country.